Warm thinking of quitting your job? Don't. At least not before you answer Socrates' questions. Picture this. Your resignation email is on the screen. Your finger is hovering over send. Your hands are shaking, not because you're weak, but because you're unsure. Most people don't quit their job. They quit their confusion. Career pivots fail not because people lack talent, but because they don't understand the real reason they want to leave. That's the trap. You feel the urge to escape, but you can't tell if it's clarity or panic. You've heard 1,000 voices telling you to follow your passion. But Socrates didn't give comfort. He gave questions, the kind that peel back the layers until only the truth remains. So before we answer the big question, should I quit? We have to understand why your mind is giving you these urges in the first place. Let's start there. You're not stuck, you're unclear. A career crisis is rarely about the job itself. It's about the unexamined beliefs that sit behind your frustration, quietly steering your decisions without you noticing. Sometimes burnout disguises itself as dissatisfaction. When you're exhausted, everything looks wrong, even a job you once liked. Sometimes fear disguises itself as ambition. You feel the urge to change, not because you truly want to, but because you're scared of being left behind. And sometimes comparison disguises itself as calling. You see someone else pivot, and suddenly you feel like you're supposed to pivot too. Socrates didn't give answers. He removed illusions. He didn't tell people what to do. He helped them see what was distorting their thinking. So now we start stripping those illusions away. With the first question. Before you quit your job, define the urge inside you. A vague desire to quit is not a reason. It's a signal, and signals only make sense when you decode them. Ask yourself, what exactly am I trying to escape? Say it out loud, write it down, make it concrete. Then ask, is this discomfort temporary or structural? Many people think they hate their job, when in reality, they just hate a single project, a single deadline, or a single bad month. One rough assignment can fool your mind into believing the entire career is wrong. But when you slow down and define the urge, the panic drops, the noise gets quieter, the decision becomes clearer. Clarity reduces panic. And once you've named the urge, the next step is to challenge the story you're telling yourself. Your mind creates narratives. Socrates destroys them. This is the moment where you stop accepting the stories you repeat in your head and start questioning them. What assumptions am I making about my job? What part of this story might be false or incomplete? Most people never ask these questions. They feel something, then turn that feeling into a conclusion, and then treat that conclusion as truth. You say there's no growth here, but have you ever asked your manager about a learning opportunity or a new responsibility? You call it a toxic workplace, but sometimes the issue comes from only one colleague, not the entire environment. Your mind exaggerates to protect you, but Socratic questioning forces accuracy instead of fear. When you challenge your story, you often realize you are not trapped. You are simply misreading the situation. Many people switch careers or quit too soon because they misunderstand themselves, not because the job is truly wrong for them. Now that the story is exposed, we move to the biggest trap: misreading your own emotions. A career pivot built on emotion collapses. This is where you stop letting your feelings act as facts. Emotions are valid, but they don't always tell the truth. So Socrates forces you to separate what you feel from what is real. What part of this feeling is actually about the job? And what part is coming from your life outside the job? Maybe you think you hate your company, but the truth is, you have been sleeping poorly for weeks. Maybe you believe your workplace is the problem when the real stress comes from your finances, a relationship, or pressure at home. Your mind blends everything together, and the job becomes the easiest target. The Socratic Method never dismisses emotion. It simply categorizes it. It helps you see which feelings come from the work itself and which feelings come from somewhere else entirely. Once the emotions are sorted, we can finally look outward at the real constraints.
Most people quit the wrong thing. They think the job is the enemy, when the real constraint is something completely different. You can't change your life until you know what is actually limiting it. So Socrates cut straight to the core. Is the problem a skill, an environment, or an expectation? Is the obstacle coming from the outside, or is it coming from within you? Sometimes it is just a skill gap. You don't need to quit, you need to learn. Sometimes it is a misaligned environment. You are in the right field, but the wrong company. And sometimes the issue is your expectation. You believe a career should feel perfect immediately, and every inconvenience feels like a sign to escape. When you name the real constraint, the entire situation becomes clearer. And once the constraint is visible, Socrates asks the hardest question, the cost question. Quitting is expensive, but so is staying. Every decision has a price, even standing still. And Socrates forces you to face both sides of the cost. What does quitting cost me financially? What does staying cost me emotionally? Which cost matters more in the long term? Maybe switching to a new field means losing 2 years of income. Maybe staying means slowly draining your creativity and your mental health. One path costs money, the other costs your spirit. And clarity comes from choosing which price you are truly willing to pay. Now comes the pivotal moment, identifying what you actually want. Most people know what they hate, not what they truly want. And that is why their career pivots feel directionless. You cannot pivot towards something you cannot articulate. So ask yourself, what does a better career actually look like for me? What do I want more of? What do I want less of? Maybe it is more autonomy and fewer endless meetings. Maybe it is more creativity and less administrative noise. Maybe it is more impact and fewer tasks that drain your energy. When you see your more and less clearly, your confusion softens. Clarity becomes a compass, and for the first time, the path ahead looks less like a maze and more like a map. Now we build the Socratic pivot map. A pivot isn't a leap, it's a sequence. You don't change your career by jumping into the dark. You change it by mapping your next move with precision. Start with your current strengths, the things you can already do well. Then identify your transferable skills, the abilities that follow you into any industry. Next, map out adjacent paths, roles that sit one step away from where you are now. And finally, test those paths with small experiments, a side project, a short course, a shadowing opportunity. That's how a marketer becomes a copywriter, then a content strategist, then a leader in a field they once thought was out of reach. Small experiments prevent big regrets. You try before you quit, and your pivot becomes strategic, not impulsive. Now, let's wrap everything into a simple checklist. 7 questions stand between you and a disastrous career decision. Ask them slowly, answer them honestly. What is the urge I'm feeling? What story am I telling myself? What emotions might be distorting my view? What is the real constraint holding me back? What is the real cost of quitting or staying? What do I actually want? And finally, what does my pivot map look like? These 7 questions clear the fog and reveal the path. Now, one final message. You don't find a better career by escaping. You find it by understanding. If this helped you see your next step more clearly, subscribe for more ancient wisdom for modern careers, and let's pivot the way Socrates would.